I woke up from the hotel feeling a chimichanga of emotions. Today was the most precarious step in our cargo run. The cargo was to be loaded on boats, and then we'd travel down the dangerous Yixi River. This filled me with the feeling of, when you go down the stairs and you think you're at the last step, but then you put your foot down and then there's not a step there, and you go, I think there's one more. And that frightened me. I packed up my satchel and went down the stairs to the front of the hotel. As I walked past the front desk, a gentlemanly man called out to me, "Your bill is due." "It sure is," I said, as I continued walking outside the hotel. I waited at the outside of the hotel for my assistant, and while standing there, I looked at the horizon staringly. I did enjoy my brief time in Pound Town, but I do wish my visit could have lasted a few minutes more. Just as this thought had left my brain, as most of my thoughts often do, a small disheveled man came limping down the road to greet me. "You must be Cankles," I said heroically, as I often do. "Yes, I am," the thin man said. "We must hurry. The boats are loaded and are waiting for your arrival." "Then let's make haste, for I have found these trips are usually stalled before my arrival, and then usually fall into great troubles thereafter." "Will you grab my bags?" I asked Cankles besmirchingly. "You want me to carry your bags to the boat?" he said. "I think it is only fair," I retorted. "We must split up the work amongst ourselves so we do not get tired. I feel like it is only fair. I have carried them all the way here from the hotel, and I believe it would be best if you carried them the other half of the way to the boats." "As you wish," said Cankles, as he begrudgingly gathered up the 4 or 5 bags I had piled behind me. It was a short 5-mile walk to the docks at the riverside, and the afternoon sun felt good as it warmed my tan and leathery skin. After several minutes of walking, my mind had run out of different cheeses to count, and my mind pined for further entertainment. "Oh, Cankles," I called out to Cankles, who is now some 100 feet behind me. "Is this river trip really as dangerous as all those infomercials say?" "Why, yes it is," he said between breaths, as he struggled to move the bags one step at a time behind me, "as the river is filled with the most frightening and dangerous creatures." "Frightening and dangerous creatures," I said repeatedly. "Yes, for the water is filled with ravenous, insatiable hippos." "Hippos?" I said. "Yes, consuming and unappeasable hippos." "Pray, tell me more of these piggish and insurient hippos." "During our last trip down the river, we had with us a young maiden who had a child with her not more than 2 to 3 months of age. As we made our way down the river, we soon found ourselves surrounded by starved and voracious hippos. They were led by the great pink hippo, who seemed to be the most audacious and unquenchable of all. This beast was well known by me and my men. We had come to give it the nickname Charmandar. "Charmandar?" I said. "Yes. It is a word in our native tongue. It roughly translates to the pink one." "No manner of beast frightens Bradley Milton," I said ferociously. "No matter what the color, whether they be white, pink, brown, black, or otherwise. I have been able to beat them all off single-handedly, and reducing them down to nothing but little squirts." And at this statement, Cankles rolled his eyes in awe of my magnificence. "As I was saying," muttered Cankles, "those famished and rapacious hippos had surrounded the boats, and were starting to slam them rigorously, shaking them back and forth in their wake. The young woman did not heed our warnings to get back, and she curiously leaned over the edge of our ship to see what was the matter. In this instance, she accidentally dropped her child after Charmandar beat our boat another time, and the child fell slowly into the water, and before it hit, up sprang Charmandar with mouth wide open, and much like a clam slamming shut on a fine white pearl, the babe was gone. "If you mean to scare me with this story, it will do you no good," I said humbly. "I have twice the strength of a baby and an intellect to match. And as long as I have lived, I have never been eaten." We continued our leisurely walk until we finally reached the port at the river's edge. And once there, I quickly made out the silhouette of the captain of the vessel I'd be sailing with, Richard Longfellow. "Richard!" I yelled. "Mr. Milton," he retorted quickly. "Come, come, we have the vessel ready for you. Let me introduce you to my first mate, Mr. Nathaniel Bucket. Mr. Bucket, I presume? Yes, nice to meet you," he said, "a young strapping lad." Captain Richard put out his hand, grabbed mine, and pulled me onto the vessel. "It's quite a fine ship you have here," I said. "Yes, I have captained it as long as I can remember, and the HMS Floaty Boat has always been a strong vessel, ever since it was repurposed from the 1,000 Years' War. I'm sure it struck fear into many a man's heart. Luckily, she survived it unscathed, unlike her sister ships, the Little Yellow Duck and Thunderpuff." At about this time, Cankles had finally made his way to the side of the ship. Dragging the bags behind him, he seemed tired and worn down. If only he was as strong as I, and the trip would have been as a leisurely walk. "You deserve a break," I shouted vociferously at Cankles. "Once you've loaded up those bags in the ship, unloaded them in my room, and made my preparations ready, please take your leave." A single tear fell rainingly from Cankles' eyes. I knew that this act of gratitude was not wasted on him. "You should rest as well," said Longfellow, "as we will need our strength to make the voyage, and we will be leaving soon." "A capital idea," I bellowed. "And before you know it, we will make our way all the way upstream to the pristine Lake Gwennefer."